Well, you had to know I was going to get to it sooner or later. I want to talk about the fad and trend towards homosexuality. The fad and trend towards homosexuality. You know, as I think about it, whatever the issue is and whatever the subject matter may be, it's never healthy for there to be one point of view pushed and promoted, and then all others are to keep silent. When you look at our society, we are a society of fads and of acceptable and sometimes popular trends, and sometimes we only tolerate certain behaviors. I don't do well with people trying to intimidate me or force their thoughts and their lifestyles upon me. And I can never grasp the idea that others can say whatever they like and promote whatever lifestyle they choose, and I'm never to voice any objection or offer any different point of view. I really have a problem with certain persons or groups being able to come out of whatever closet they may be in and make some grand nationwide or worldwide announcement about their choice in life, and yet I'm not allowed to discuss an alternative to such a choice without coming under attack and without being called all sorts of names and being criticized. And I must admit, in this situation, there's absolutely too much hate, too much name calling, and I'm talking about on both sides of the issue of homosexuality. Now, this is my take, so don't hate, my friend. Hello to all of my friends out there. Welcome to another segment of My Take on this Thursday, July the 8th, 2021. As you already know, this is where I discuss various issues that relate to everyday challenges of life. And of course, you know that I will talk about anything and even sometimes anybody, but always in a loving way. At least I try to, and yet calling it what it is, or at least calling it the way that I see it, which is why this is called My Take. All right? And I need not explain that I'm not an expert in anything. I'm really not. I'm not an expert at anything. But I do have a mind, and I do have a voice. And through an understanding of the Bible, through some education that I have, and through some limited knowledge of the experiences of others, I believe I can speak. I do have some knowledge of history, and therefore I do have some thought. I have some opinion on the subject of homosexuality, so I speak. And I would humbly ask that before reaching any conclusion, before passing any judgment, and before condemning anyone, please let each of us listen and consider the issue and how each of us might address it. Amen. Because obviously, those who are directly involved in this kind of lifestyle or this kind of behavior are better equipped to answer questions than I am, and probably better than you may be. But I have no problem sharing my thoughts and my knowledge, as well as, whatever wisdom that I may possess and that I may bring to the table. To cover this subject fairly and adequately will require more time than we have today, more energy, more research than I give it this time around. But through 3 or 4 messages, we will do our very best to lay a good foundation so that we can have a sensible, fair discussion about the subject of homosexuality. And I want to encourage us that let us not treat this like something that we're afraid to talk about, something that we're afraid to address, because none of us have any reason to be afraid of anything. You can speak your view and I can speak mine. And I respect your view. And I trust that you will respect my view. But when we look at the idea of homosexuality, it's nothing new. It's been around, since life itself. But among some, it has gained more attention in recent years, I believe, due to the politics of the day, due to the efforts of homosexual special interest groups who are pushing and promoting their particular agenda. And, I think it's partly due to some famous or what we call high profile individuals who are so-called coming out of the closet and making some national or worldwide announcement that they are homosexual or that they are involved or engaged in homosexual activity. Now, why that's national newsworthy or world newsworthy is a mystery to me. I don't know. But when we talk about this idea of coming out of the closet, what does that mean? And I'm giving you my understanding of it. But as I have grown up, the world today is much different than it was when I was a child. When I was growing up, there were more things, for good or bad, right or wrong. There were more things that were what we call taboo, things that were off limits, out of bounds, things that were not accepted readily by the public, or by the general public, I should say. There were things that were not really tolerated by the general public. And of course, that rolled over into the government, rolled over into corporate America, rolled over into the church, because that's just the way it was during that time. That was the culture in which we lived at the time. So because some things were taboo, people were so-called, and it's not only homosexuality, but there were some other things going on, some other things that people were doing, some other things that people were involved with that were considered taboo. So people were seen as, and it was spoken as, that they were in the closet, to kind of give the idea that they had to hide, that they had to go underground, if you will, in order to do, whatever they were doing or whatever they were involved in. So now you see now where you have people who are so-called coming out of the closet. And so when I look at celebrities and other people, famous people who make these nationwide and worldwide announcements, again, I don't understand why that's newsworthy for somebody to come out to announce, hey, I want y'all to know I'm homosexual. I mean, why would anybody do that? I don't understand that. But I believe that if we really look at it very closely, that we're going to find that this is part of a larger effort to push this idea. I suspect it's part of a larger political agenda to normalize, to legalize, to legitimize homosexuality and make it more acceptable to the public. But be that as it may, I think it is a contributing factor, and therefore we see this fad or this trend towards homosexuality, because we tend to look at people, particularly famous people, celebrities and such, athletes and so on, especially young people tend to look at that and they think that, well, if they do it, then it must be okay. If they're doing it, then it must be a good thing to do. So I think it's part of a larger agenda to promote this idea of homosexuality, to make it more acceptable in our society. So we're moving from those days of taboo as far as that is concerned, and it is now more acceptable. It is now tolerated more. And of course, we have woven it into the fabric of our political system. And so we have homosexuality, special interest groups who make demands on legislators, who make demands on our country. And of course, and many of their demands are being met. So that's just where we are today. And really when you look at it, this idea of homosexuality doesn't appear to be practiced anymore, any less by any particular race of people or any class of people. Now, I've not done any sort of scientific or exhaustive research, so I'm just speaking from my point of view. Homosexuality is generally seen as a sexual attraction to a person or persons of the same sex. or of the same gender. Homosexuality is generally seen as a person or persons engaged in a relationship between another person, again, of the same gender or of the same sex. And there are different, or there are variations of homosexuality, such as what we call bisexual, lesbian, or a person considering themselves transgender or gender neutral. But for the sake of our discussion, I would deal with the whole as just homosexuality. I won't get into all the details of the other variations. And on the subject of homosexuality, I believe it is important that we put the issue on the table in an open and honest way for the sake of educating ourselves and for us to make a concerted effort to really reach some understanding between those who are practicing that type of lifestyle and those who are not. And let us look at how it affects our families and how it affects our society. I want you to know up front, I have no intentions of engaging in any public debate, but I will present my point of view, not so much even from a biblical perspective, because I don't want to get into that battle about what the Bible says or even what God said when it comes to this, because certainly God has something to say about it. Certainly the Bible is very clear about what it says about it. But I want to talk about it from a human perspective. I want to speak from the perspective of what I see, at least, as what should be acceptable and what should not be acceptable, what we should be doing as human beings and what we should not be doing. And please understand, I'm speaking from my point of view, and again, I respect whatever your view might be, even though it may be different from mine. Okay, so I can't speak for you, but I can speak for me. Okay, so that's what I intend to do. But I'm certainly not going to get into any public debate, on the issue or anything else. My hope is that we can create an atmosphere of peace and patience and understanding. And my hope is that we can remove the hostility, the resentment from this issue. It doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be us against them, so to speak. So let us, put aside all the jockeying for position and all the jockeying for advantage. Let's stop trying to frighten each other and intimidate one another. And please let us stop trying to impose our personal views and our personal will and our personal behaviors on others. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Let us stop trying to out-muscle and out-maneuver one another, because you know what that will get us? Absolutely nowhere fast. Are you hearing me? So let's put all that aside, and let's kind of, let's just come to the table, be honest with one another, and let's just talk, get it out there so we can at least have some decent discussion about the issue, because if it's going to continue to cause a divide in our society, in our families, in our churches, and there is a great divide, even in the church, there's a great divide. So if we are to resolve these issues, then we're going to have to talk about them. We're going to have to address the issues at some point or another. Now, please understand once again that we're not going to get through this in one lesson. And I hope you bear with me, and please, again, before you reach any conclusion, before you pass judgment on anybody, before you condemn anybody, let's work our way through this. Let's just listen. Let's just be in prayer, and let's give it some thought, and let's try to gain some understanding before we jump the gun, so to speak, on anything, okay? And through the process, I don't mind sharing my point of view. I don't mind sharing my personal views, not even on this subject itself. I don't mind sharing. And I do have some very strong opinions, if you will. I have a very strong point of view when it comes to homosexuality. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned about our children. I'm concerned about our young people. And my concern is for the children and the young people who are being taught and who are being exposed to and influenced by homosexuality, whether that be from their parents, from their friends, their peers, from their leaders, or from their role models, wherever it's coming from. My concern is for our youth, for our children, who are what I consider being negatively affected by a behavior that some adult has chosen for themselves. My concern is also for the multitudes who find themselves feeling trapped in this lifestyle because of being raped, because of being molested, or as children being forced to live in an environment where this lifestyle is openly practiced. Now, while I'm there, let me go ahead and tell you, because I don't mind sharing with you my view on that. And I'm going to talk about it more in detail a little bit later in another lesson, in another message, if you will. But I disagree with children being able to live in a home where there are practicing homosexuals. I totally disagree with two men living together being able to adopt children. I totally disagree with two women involved in a homosexual relationship being able to adopt children or raise children in that kind of environment. I mean, we talk about children and young people. When we talk about child abuse, these children, listen, their minds are impressionable. They're not adults. They're not able to make their own decisions. And we're forcing them in this kind of environment where this kind of behavior is going on. Now, I'm not saying anything wrong with the decisions that you make as adults. I'm saying that I believe it's wrong for us to subject our children to these kinds of choices. Amen. That's me. Okay. But now I understand that you may have a different point of view, and I certainly understand that the government obviously has a different point of view. But my interest and my concern leads me to speak on behalf of those who have been exploited, forced into such a lifestyle, those who have been coerced into conceding their virginity, those who have through fear and intimidation have been compelled to comply with this kind of behavior or this type of lifestyle. You know, I seek answers. I'm looking for resolution for those who may even find themselves attracted to this lifestyle because of undue and unfair influence by persons in authority, such as ministers, teachers, scout leaders, coaches, and even parents sometimes. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about our children. I'm not here to try to tell adult people how to live your lives. I'm not here to try to tell you how to do that. I'm not here to try to impose my will on you. Okay? So I'm here to, because my main concern is where I see this is going. Where I see this is going, particularly when it involves our young people. I speak for those who feel like they are at a point of no return, feel helpless in escaping a lifestyle which they may not agree with. Listen, consideration should be given for those who may feel victimized by others, abused by others, and exploited, and those who feel they have no choice in return to abuse other people. And that's usually what happens. If you know, the hurt people. The abused typically abuse. If they don't receive counseling, if they're not taught better, listen, if they're not helped at an early age, and I'm concerned about those who are led into or resort to this lifestyle, even as an act of rebellion. Rebellion against their parents, rebellion against all authority. But they realize it really isn't where they want to be. They're just going through this period of rebellion. My heart goes out to those who are confused about their gender. I mean, I listen, trust me, my heart goes out to them, especially when it is abundantly clear what you are. The evidence is indisputable, irrefutable. You know, and I hear what people say when they try to describe what they feel. They say it has been, It's like feeling like a man trapped in a woman's body or like a woman trapped in a man's body. And I can't tell you what you feel. I can tell you this, and I'll talk about this more in detail later. I can tell you this. We cannot always trust our feelings. Feelings are important, but we cannot always trust our feelings, nor do we always have to follow our feelings. Let me tell you something, my friend. The devil will put any kind of thought in your mind. The devil will bring any kind of feeling to you. So we cannot always trust. We cannot always follow our feelings. But I understand if that's what you feel, that's what you feel. If that's what you think, well, that's what you think. So I'm not here to argue that point. But there are people who are confused about their gender. And that bothers me because, it really hurts me to think that someone could be that confused, a man who actually thinks that he is a woman or that he can become a woman. A woman who thinks she's a man or thinks that she can become a man. Come on, friend, let's just look at the reality of it. The reality is that no matter what a man thinks, what he does, he will never be a woman. The reality is, regardless of how a woman acts, what she believes, how she dresses, what she thinks, what she feels about being a man, she will never be a man. And that's just the reality of it. And I'm not saying that in every homosexual relationship, that's what they're actually thinking, because, it could be, I suppose, a situation where both men know they're men, however they describe being a man, or both women, know they're women and they're not trying to be anything other than that, just two women together, whatever, I don't know. But listen, we have to understand that we are what we are. And whatever you and I think about genders and how we try to change what it is, I got to use an old phrase that you all are accustomed to. It just is what it is. Man is a man, a woman is a woman. How can we mix that up? How can we, get confused with that? But I understand that obviously there are some people, who think that, who feel that. Okay, and I'm not here to argue with your feelings. I'm not here to argue with your thoughts. But we do have to look at the reality. Okay? And when I look at this, I think of how some people must be torn and frustrated because things aren't as they wish they were. I can imagine, a man that desperately wants to be a woman, but maybe he realizes that he can never be a woman, and the frustration that may build out of that, and again, we just have to look at the reality of it. You may be able to make yourself look like, act like, talk like, the opposite sex, but that doesn't change the reality of it, okay? And then I hear some people say that they were born that way, whatever that way is. I'm not sure what that is, but I hear people say they were born that way. Well, what does that mean? How are you born that way? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so I won't even address it. But clearly, we have an issue that needs to be, I think, discussed. I think we at least need to talk about it. The hatred, the hostility among those who are and those who are not. We have to address that because that has to stop. Listen, it's only fair for the sake of humanity that we exercise patience and express love for one another, concern for one another, compassion for one another. It's wrong to commit violence against anybody. It's wrong. It's wrong for us to hate homosexualities or commit violence against homosexuals. That's wrong, my friend. We can't do that. What is it that what's bothering you about that? If it's not you, if they're not bothering you, then what's bothering you about that? That you feel like you have to strike out, that you feel like you have to hurt somebody. No, we're not to do that because all of us as adults, we have a choice, we have a will, we have a mind, and we make up our own minds. You choose your lifestyle and I choose mine. That doesn't mean we have to fight each other. That doesn't mean we have to be hostile towards each other. So this violence against homosexuality, or homosexuals, I should say, this violence against people who are different than we are, who are maybe not think the way we think, maybe have a different lifestyle. That is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. To discriminate against homosexuals, that's wrong. When it comes to a job, when it comes to opportunities, whatever, it is wrong to discriminate against anybody. What makes you think if you call yourself, how do people put it, straight, whatever that means. If you call yourself straight, what makes you think you're any better than the one who may be consider themselves homosexual? You and I know better than they are. So we cannot hate, we cannot commit violent acts against people like that. We cannot discriminate against people like that. People, you live your lifestyle, let me live mine, okay? In all of that, we have to express love for one another, patience with one another, understanding of each other. That's what we need to work towards. We need to work towards an environment of peace that we can help people understand that they are free to make whatever choices about their lives that they choose. That is their choice. It is not for me to tell you how to live. And when we look at the situation, let me tell you, there's more than enough blame to go around. I mean, there's more than enough blame. For those who are not homosexuals, there's no reason to fear homosexuals. There's no reason to hate homosexuals. You know, and sometimes I get the impression that people feel like homosexuality is something that you can catch, you know, from somebody. It seems like people are afraid, you know, that is contagious, that is something that they can catch. It seems like there's a fear there. You know, are you not secure in who you are? Are you not stable, you know, in who you are? Well, maybe you have reason to fear that. I don't know. But there's no reason to hate people or treat people any differently or treat them like they have some sort of plague just because they practice a different lifestyle than yours or mine. There's no need for all the name calling on both sides. There's no need for all the name calling, you know, because I discuss the issue, because I talk about the issue, because I disagree with homosexuality. Don't be calling me homophobic. You know, let's not call names. I don't want to go back to those days that, you know, where we used to call people names and where we just hated people, where we just mistreated people. I don't want us to go back to those days, and if we start calling names, then, you know, somebody else feel like they got to call your name, and then you're going to feel like you got to call them a name. I don't want to go back to those names. Let's not go back to those days when we would call people dykes, punks, sissies, fags. Are you getting my drift? You don't want to go back there, do you? No, we don't want to go there. So let's not do that. Let's try to be understanding. Let's try to be patient with one another. Let's respect each other as adults, because all of us have the right, we have the ability to make our own choices. Okay? So let's try to, you know, up our game a little bit, if you will. Then when you look at, because of this great homosexual movement, and it's a huge movement, a powerful movement in America, for those who are homosexuals, you can't bully your way through life. You can't impose your lifestyle on other people. You can't make people be what you are, nor can you make people like what you are. You can't do that. You can't force this on anyone. You can't impose I can't impose it. I'm not going to try to impose my lifestyle on you, nor should you try to impose your lifestyle on me. You can't make society create another gender just for you to accommodate a lifestyle that others may find repulsive or even offensive and expect the rest of us to sign off on it. You can't do that. Listen, I don't care how powerful you become as a group. It's not right for you to try to bully your way through society and make people accept you, make people see you as being normal. You can't expect society to turn the world upside down to accommodate a personal a personal lifestyle you have chosen for yourself and treat it as something normal and natural. Because let me tell you something, my friend. Homosexuality is neither normal nor natural. And we don't have to be rocket scientists to figure that one out. But if that is your chosen lifestyle as an adult, you're well within your rights as an American, as a human being, as an adult. You're well within your rights to make that choice. But don't try to make us legitimize it. You know, it's already legalized. You know, some of you may not know that it was at one time illegal. You know, in Georgia, you know, with some of the laws we have on the books, I wouldn't be surprised that it might still be. Listen, and when we look at this idea of homosexuality, let me get personal with you for a moment. Let me get personal with you. And I'm going to try to wrap it up with this. But let me tell you something. I have had, and I do have, persons in my family, some that did practice homosexuality, some who are now presently practicing homosexuality in my family. And for the most part, they are extended family members, but that doesn't mean anything. They're still family. I have friends that practice homosexuality. And I'm this way. You do what you do, I do what I do. Don't try to make me do what you do, and I'm not going to try to make you do what I do. Okay? And I don't mind telling you, my friend, these are family members. And I'll tell you right up front, I don't like their decision. I don't. But that's their choice if they are adults. I don't agree with their decision. That's my right to disagree. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's healthy physically or emotionally. And I don't think it's smart. And it's not natural. But that's my personal view. And that doesn't make me, listen to me, that doesn't make me love them any less or treat them any differently. I can disagree with them and still love them. I can disagree with them and still treat them as a human being. Still treat them as family. Amen. So I can disagree. We can disagree without becoming hostile, without hating one another. You know, because again, and I suspect that most of our families are touched by this either directly or indirectly. Because now, especially with it seems like young people, it's a fad. It's kind of the thing to do in many cases. There's this trend towards homosexual. I mean, it's like everywhere you look. You know, so I don't know. I'm not here to try to explain it because I can't explain it. I don't know why. I'm just offering some ideas, maybe stir up some discussion about it. But we can't treat people any differently, my friend. You know, I have known and I do know friends, acquaintances that are professed homosexuals. But that doesn't make them less friends. That doesn't make them any less to me what they may be to me. They're acquaintances, they're still acquaintances. They're friends, they're still friends. Okay, let me close with this. I want to give you, and I'm closing this first installment of this talk, this discussion. Amen, let's just call it that. I want to close this first installment. And please remember, to join with us, join in when we come back and continue to talk about this over the next few weeks or so as we're led to do so. But I want to give you two experiences that I've had with, homosexual situations, not me involved in them, but that I was kind of made a part of, so to speak. An elderly pastor, friend of mine, at a church that I pastored, at some point called me and asked me to make a visit with him. He explained to me that I think he was invited to the home by, if I remember correctly, a grandmother of a young man. And he says this young man is involved in homosexual activity. The grandmother, I'm almost sure he said grandmother, asked me to come talk to the young man, pray for him. And it was really, to be honest with you, it was really like a situation we were going into that we were literally going to pray the hell out of him. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what it was. So he asked me to go with him. So I did. I went along with him, but I kind of stayed back. He knew these people, I did not. So I was just, basically I was just there as an observer. He began to talk to this young man. I remember us walking in the house, and the grandmother saying, "He's in that room," and even now, that the whole scene kind of troubles me, to be honest with you. She pointed and says, he's in the room there. Y'all going in? So we went in there. It was kind of a dark room, not a whole lot of lighting in there. Young man looked to be, in my best estimation, looked to be maybe 14, 15, somewhere in there, 16. And probably no more than 16, probably closer to about 13, 14. And so the young man was there. This particular pastor began to talk to him, and he told him, says, we're here to talk to you. We're here to pray with you. Because of this involvement that you are part of, because of what you're doing. Your grandmother is concerned, and we are concerned, and we want you to know that it's wrong. And and when I think back on it, our approach was, I guess I have to take part of the blame, but it was really his approach, because I was just kind of along for the ride. But when I think about it, our approach was really all wrong. But anyway, so he said, we're here to pray for it. So he began to talk to the young man, and he asked me, he says, we want to pray for him, and really, that boy, out of the depth of his heart, and this is what I felt. He said, "But I love him. I love him." And and again, that touches me even today. How can this young boy be so confused? But I believe that he actually felt as though, and he may have, that he loved whomever this man was, this other guy was. He just, it was plain as day. It was as sincere as he could be. He said, "But I love him." And it was really like, now he didn't have this attitude. I'm just saying it this way. But it was really like, I don't care what y'all say. I don't care what y'all do. I'm not changing my mind. I'm not changing my behavior. Now, he didn't say that. I'm just giving you, my understanding of it. That was kind of the gist of the attitude there. He wasn't mean. He wasn't disrespectful. He just very kindly said, very sincerely, I believe, said, "But I love him." And you know what I did? I walked over, because I was kind of standing. I wasn't seated. I was standing in the background. I walked over, and I tapped that pastor on the shoulders, and I says, "Let's go." And I walked out. He didn't come out right away, but I did. I walked out. Because you know what I thought? This is an absolute waste of our time. This boy really feels that he's in love with this other man or this other person. And I thought, what is it that I can say? What is it that I can do? And I was really almost hurt for the boy. But anyway, I walked on out, and the other pastor eventually came out. And I just, so you never know where people are. And you can't dismiss it. You can't say, "Oh boy, you don't love nobody." How you going to tell somebody that? How do you know? Ain't no such thing as a man loving another man. How do you know? How do you know? This boy knew what he felt. He felt what he felt. Now we, of course, pray for him. I pray for anybody. But I didn't see anything changing that day. I really didn't see any point in our being there talking to him. Probably because we were probably out of line, to be honest with you. And certainly because we probably made Well, and no doubt in my mind, I think we did. We approached it all the wrong way. And I think that the grandmother was just somebody who was concerned, about the boy. And the boy was very kind, even just to sit there and listen to us. At least listen to the other pastor. I didn't have anything to say. The last thing I want to tell you is another incident that I had with homosexuality. This was a relative, a first cousin of mine, another young man. I didn't know that this young man was about 20, this has been some years ago, he was about 22, young man, somewhere in that area. He even worked for me when I had my company in Atlanta. Good worker. He worked for me, fine young man, a good worker. And he worked for me. I didn't know he was involved in a homosexual relationship. He was. He contracted AIDS. And, he got real sick. He got very sick. And I can remember that in his closing days, and again, it touches me even today. He was at home, and I can remember that he was in such bad shape. I don't remember whether doctors had officially said bring the family in or not. I do know that there were a number of us there that night. It was at night, and he was lying in the bed. He was very sick, and this young boy was, again, probably no more than 21, 22, somewhere in that area. And my aunt she did not come in the room. She was in another room. But there were about, 5, 6 of us gathered around his bed. And this boy was literally dying right before our eyes. He died that night, but he was dying right before our eyes. And, I'm ashamed to tell you this, that, we were not praying for him. People around that bed were really questioning him, badgering him. Who was it? Who is it? What have you been involved in? This boy is lying there, cannot even speak, cannot even defend himself, cannot even look up and tell everybody, y'all go to hell. Because that's probably what he should have said, the way people were carrying on. Badgering him. This boy is literally dying before our eyes. And just to satisfy our curiosity, putting him through that in his dying days. And I tell you, when I thought back on that, I said, what damn fools we were to do that to that boy, to treat him like that. That was how he died, staring up in our foolish faces, questioning him, badgering him, not praying for him, not saying I love you, not asking him if he knew the Lord. And I thought, how could we have done that? We can be so ignorant, so stupid. And I think probably all of us who were there probably called ourselves Christians. I was not a preacher at the time, but I was a churchgoer. But it doesn't even matter. We could have been atheists, and there's no excuse for our behavior. No excuse whatsoever. But I do have strong feelings, about this issue. But let us pray to God and ask God to guide us and lead us. That we don't hate people, that we don't mistreat people because they choose a different lifestyle than you and I may choose. That's my take. What do you have to say? God bless you.